Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar hosted by NextTime in association with ICICI Bank Canada. I am Mark Lessem, and I'm going to be your co-moderator today. NextTime has been in the broadcasting a series of thought leadership webinars titled Diversify to Differentiate, Think India, Think Next. This series explores business opportunities and various policies and incentives available for conducting and expanding business in India. Today, we are going to discuss how corporations can benefit from setting up global capability centers. Before we begin, please note that you are in listen-only mode. If you have any questions, please share them with us through the question box on the control panel. Excuse me. We'll address your queries towards the end of the webinar or in writing if time does not permit us to cover them during the broadcast today. It's now my pleasure to welcome our distinguished panel of guests. Honorable Rajiv Kumar, Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology for the Government of India. Honorable Dr. T.V. Nagendra Prasad, Consul General of India in San Francisco. Peter Bender Samuel, Founder and CEO of the Everest Group. And Jerry Kinnick, President, Continuum Global Solutions. I also want to welcome my colleague and co-moderator, Alpana Shirgankar, Executive Director at NextTime. Alpana is a CPA from Georgia State Board of Accountancy and has been with NextTime for over 14 years. She heads the business process management practice that manages our clients' finance and accounting and contract lifecycle management processes. I focus my time on NextTime's business development efforts. I have over 30 years of leadership experience in marketing, sales, finance, and general management, after having earned my undergraduate degree from the University of Florida and MBA from Indiana University. My career spans medical device, pharmaceutical, and medical distribution industries with companies like Medline, B. Braun, and American Hospital Supply. Our agenda today will begin with me setting the context and sharing some facts about why India is a favorable destination for global capability centers, or GCCs. Alpana will share a relevant case study for your consideration. Then we'll have a brief overview of NextTime before we host the panel discussion with our esteemed guests. Time permitting, we will finish with your questions before closing the event. Now, before we see why industry leaders are thinking of setting up a global capability center in India, we need to understand what an efficient GCC can do for a business. Historically, GCCs were referred to as developmental centers and then global in-house centers. They started as a way for businesses to leverage labor arbitrage and generate related cost savings. However, over time, GCCs have evolved to become centers of excellence where businesses can actually realize strategic value. Now, after 20 years of evolution, the Indian GCC market is now approximately $28.3 billion in size, with over 1,750 centers and over 1 million employees. You might be surprised to learn that 70% of India GCCs belong to US headquartered companies, and that 50% of global GCCs are located in India. Fortune 500 firms are responsible for over 180 entities, which are not just capability centers, but they're also innovation centers. But you don't have to be a Fortune 500 company to unlock the value of a GCC. India-based GCCs continue to have a digital focus, with over half of them investing in the 5 key areas shown at bottom right. In fact, over 75% of India-based GCCs are invested in analytics, cloud migration, and robotic process automation. Established GCCs continue to evolve by taking on more than one purpose. Based on NASSCOM's sample survey report, the top left of this slide shows that 43% of GCCs are singularly focused, while 57% are integrated. Now, integrated means that the organizations are sourcing a combination of IT, business processes, and/or engineering and R&D from one cohesive center. In other words, the GCC is multitasking. So let's take a deeper dive into the functions of each of these GCCs. IT centers include functions such as application development and management, cybersecurity services, data center outsourcing, network services, and service desks. Business process management centers include functions such as finance and accounting, contract management, payroll, human resources management, and procurement. Engineering and R&D centers include design, innovation, product lifecycle management, intellectual property management, among others. You can also get a sense of the distribution of the GCCs in India by the major verticals. The combination of software plus banking, financial services, and insurance verticals account for almost 30% of the total installed talent base. Other major verticals are listed there for you to digest. Now, the map highlights the southern and western part of India and how they are heavily populated by GCCs. Increasing demand and shifting business requirements have led to robust growth from a variety of industries in the northern regions as well. And as you can see here on the map, there are 7 emerging GCC regions. So let's shift focus to the why. Why is there explosive growth for GCCs in India? For years, India has been a preferred destination for establishing GCCs. Its dexterity in the realm of technology and fast-growing strategic relevance for global corporations have led India to emerge as a hub for sourcing services. Additional points worth mentioning. First, if we examine the intellectual capital, it's estimated that an available and talented workforce will exceed 600 million by 2025. India also has the second largest English-speaking population, second only to the United States. Second, policy reforms like a 100% deduction on scientific research expenditure and lower corporate tax rates are very inviting for GCCs. Third, India offers a vast geography with good infrastructure, not just in Tier 1, but also in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. And intra-country connectivity is very well established. Add to this the mix of a rapidly digitizing ecosystem and the structural capability of back business processes, IT establishments, multifunctional back office services, and up-to-date research centers, and you can begin to understand the why India has maintained its leadership position despite the challenges from emerging destinations. India's unique selling propositions are its talent pool and its cost to value equation, because its cost structure is approximately 3 to 4 times lower than that of the US. It's also important to note that in the last 10 years, there has been an approximate 250% increase in GCCs in India, with 8 global unicorns among those. Now, the typical GCC value realization journey happens in 3 phases. Phase 1 is the setup, and it often results in a 10 to 20% cost savings due to labor expense arbitrage. Phase 2 is the scale up through capacity augmentation, centralization, re-engineering, or process standardization. Incremental savings are typically in the range of 5 to 10%. And finally, phase 3 is the value addition, and it could be resulting in a 10 to 15% incremental savings through transformation and centers of excellence. In total, there could be a savings of up to 45% over an average time span of 3 to 5 years. So let's get you engaged now if we can. I'd like to ask you a quick poll question and invite you to select the one relevant option from the list. So here's the question. What is the single most important factor to you when choosing India to set up a GCC? Again, we'll choose just one option. The options are talent pool, cost saving, labor arbitrage, and technology adoption and rapid digitization. That's a tough one to say. In any case, as we await for your poll results, let me invite you to go ahead and submit questions in preparation for the panel discussion and to use that question box on your control panel. I'm sure by now many of you have already recorded your answers and we'll get an idea on the responses. It's very interesting. Almost half of you are looking to access the talent pool, a third on the cost, and then you can see the remaining numbers there, 18% on technology adoption. So it's very interesting. The talent pool is certainly a major unique selling proposition for India. So now I'm going to invite Alpana to take the theoretical to the practical and share with us a case study from a NextTime client.
Thanks, Mark. Talking about the impact a GCC can create, let me illustrate from a client that NextTime has been working with for more than 12 years. The client is a business aviation company operating more than 250 aircraft worldwide and operating out of 15 plus locations. It has been growing rapidly through acquisitions. Quick integration of the acquired operations to provide a consistent customer experience is critical to its acquisition strategy. NextTime provides a fully managed accounts payable and receivable function. So when the client acquires a company or operation, NextTime applies its rapid rollout methodology to identify the process differences and gaps in the acquired function and works with the client teams to implement the necessary changes. This ensures that there is a uniform process across all operations and locations, thereby enabling leveraging of technology and efficiencies of scale. NextTime supports the integration of various accounting systems and ERPs, migration of data, and setting up uniform ways of working between onshore client teams and offshore NextTime teams, adhering to standard query templates, standard master data mapping, and a uniform chart of accounts. Once the processes are standardized, NextTime develops an in-house platform to manage the entire process, workflow, administration, and query handling. It also supports the coding process as there are 1200 plus complex business rules that are driven by customized business arrangements with the aircraft owners. I would like to share some outcome data. The client has managed to achieve saving in excess of $5.5 million cumulatively in the last 5 years alone, with a 70% reduction in cycle time of the receivables process, 22% reduction in costs due to efficient use of technology for the implementation of client rules. Additionally, we have also been able to reduce cycle times of the payable process by 30% and have successfully managed to create a uniform customer experience across geographies.
Thank you, Alpana. The outcomes are quite impressive, that's for sure. I tell you what really struck me though was the first thing you said, and I think I heard you said the duration of the relationship is 12 years. And if that's the case, I might argue that this is more of a partnership than a transactional relationship. And this is something I hope we could explore in just a little bit with our panel. So let's see how NextTime might fit into the equation. NextTime is an award-winning employee-owned global business advisory organization that's been in the business of supporting projects into India since the late 1990s. We understand this space well, and we've helped businesses from over 50 countries establish and expand their local presence. If you're looking to establish a new GCC, we can help you build and operate, or build and transfer the operations to your team. If you already have an operational GCC, we can help you realize more value through strategic innovation and efficient management. Now, we have been fortunate to have been honored by industry thought leaders. NextTime earned Advisory Project of the Year honors from the International Accounting Bulletin twice in the last 3 years. We're also a regular contributor to the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business survey. In the United States, we are based out of Chicago, and we provide multifunctional and digital capabilities across business consulting, business services, and professional services, as we assist our clients with integrated solutions to their complex challenges. Over the past 57 years, our teams have designed and specialized our service portfolio to support global businesses in their India entry and establishment journey, their expansion strategy, their business optimization, and regulatory compliances, among others. This visual provides a snapshot of our capabilities. It's now time for us to move to the experts and to get their experiences and views on setting up GCCs in India. Now, Alpana, I'll turn the virtual podium over to you.
Thanks. It's our pleasure to introduce today's panel. We have Honorable Rajiv Kumar. He's the Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology in the Government of India. He was recruited into the Indian Forest Service in 1988. Currently, he's responsible for industrial promotion in IT and ITES sectors, with emphasis on trade development and India's digital diplomacy in multilateral and bilateral forums, such as the India-US and India-EU Information and Communications Technologies Dialogue, G20, and others. He's spearheading the growth of IT and ITES industries in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities of India, promoting e-commerce, and developing a software product mission. He is an alumni of the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs of Syracuse University, New York, where he obtained an executive master's in public administration. Our second guest is Ambassador Dr. T.V. Nagendra Prasad. He is the Consul General of India at San Francisco. Prior to this, he served at the Ministry of External Affairs as Joint Secretary heading the Gulf Division. He joined the Indian Foreign Services in 1993 and served in various positions at Indian missions, including Tehran, London, Thimphu, Bern, and Ashgabat. He was India's ambassador to Turkmenistan from July 2014 to January 2018. Back home in India, he served as regional passport officer in Bengaluru and as project director of the Passport Seva project, one of the mission mode projects under e-governance. He received his doctorate from the prestigious Indian Agricultural and Research Institute in New Delhi. Our next guest is Peter Bender Samuel. He's the founder and CEO of Everest Group. He founded Everest Group in 1991, and during the past 3 decades, he has led Everest Group to be on the frontier of the global services industry, ensuring that the firm is constantly at the intersection of how leading firms take advantage of disruptive technologies, innovative service vehicles, and game-changing talent models. In recent years, this has included helping enterprises, global business service organizations, and service providers to effectively leverage next generation IT solutions, strategically transforming their business services, and helping them understand how best to evolve their services to meet changing internal and external customer needs. Peter is a regularly featured thought leader in international business media and a frequent keynote speaker at leading industry events. His many contributions to the service industry have been recognized by several key institutions, including IAOP, which in 2020 awarded him its Leadership Hall of Fame Award. And our last guest is Jerry Kinnick, President, Continuum Global Solutions, has more than 20 years of business process outsourcing experience, including significant success in redefining how companies do business. In his current role at Continuum Global Solutions, he is responsible for all business aspects of their operations. Prior to this, Jerry was SVP and General Manager for Conduent, previously known as Xerox, where he supported the transformation of Conduent's North American customer care capabilities. He was also the CFO for Citel's North American and work at home operations. Jerry successfully expanded services for existing clients, diversified client bases across multiple geographies, and transitioned core business and support groups to near and offshore markets for increased profitability. Jerry has a master's in business administration international business from San Diego State. Thank you all for joining us today. And let's start the panel discussion now. So I would like to start with a question directed to Mr. Kumar. So what are your insights related to the recent growth of GCCs in India?
Well, thank you, Alpana, and thanks for the introduction. As was mentioned in the presentation, India has been known as the offshoring destination, the back office of the world. And currently, we are having around 4 million, more than 4 million employees working in the IT/ITS sector. And nearly 1/4 of them are with the GCCs. With more than 1,300 GCCs operating in India, we have proven to the world that we have talent, infrastructure, right government policies, and India is the best destination to be invested. Think India, think digital. Apart from how our GCCs began using cost arbitrage, it has now actually it is now more in the transforming mode. So from being a cost center, now we are an innovation center. These GCCs are truly transforming the way the business is handled across geographies or by these companies. Lately we are seeing great interest in moving from pure play IT companies to actually various diverse sectors. And GCCs have come up for automobile, semiconductors, aerospace, industrial automation, engineering, research and development, energy, healthcare, and so on. And finally, I may say that as India also digitalizes rapidly, uh, currently we are 500 million internet subscribers and adding around 100 million every year. So India also presents for the GCCs a great marketplace. Uh, Apart from the usual talent and infrastructure and favorable government policies that we have had so far.
Thank you, sir, for the insights. In line with my previous question, can you share some of the initiatives taken by the government and your ministry to support the growth of GCCs?
Uh, so, one of the most important uh, incentives uh, that the government provided was that it kept a hands-off approach. So, no regulation was perhaps the best form of, encouragement. So typically, India, had a lot of laws and regulations in various sectors, but for IT, the government simply kept its hands off. This was our stated policy and has really, really served us well. However, uh, having said that, there have been uh, positive incentives. We started around 3 decades ago through the Software Technology Park scheme, the SEZ scheme, and they have really allowed the GCCs to take advantage of good built infrastructure. Uh, we had talent pool also in tier 1 cities at that point of time. Now we have talent pool across tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well. We are also currently implementing policies to upskill and reskill our talent force, particularly in the IT sector, through programs which we run with industry associations such as NASCOM. We are running 2 programs with them, a future skill and a future skills prime program, so that our talent pool is actually right up to the requirement of the industry. Also, in the past few years, there have been initiatives taken at the state government level, like, for example, Telangana and Karnataka both actually have very, very good policies to attract investments for the GCCs. Uh, and finally, India also now presents a vast marketplace, not only for pure play IT, ITS companies, but also for companies that are looking to operate in other sectors, for example, agriculture, healthcare, have problem create products solutions that can be applied to solve India's societal problems. It's a good test bed also. So these are some of the initiatives that Indian government has laid out, and of course uh, we do connect our potential clients with our industry association, which works really, really hard uh, to the potential clients to establish themselves if they so wish to open GCCs in India.
Mr. Kumar, I was particularly taken, all very important initiatives that the ministry is doing, but the hands-off approach probably lent itself directly to an entrepreneurial effort, which then allowed us to go from cost arbitrage to innovation much easier. And so I appreciate your comments. Thank you for sharing. I'd like to turn my attention to Dr. Prasad for a moment here and focus on the macro level, if we can, for a moment, and speak to international relations. Given the historical growth rate of GCCs and Mr. Kumar's comments, how does the current India-US commercial and economic relationship factor into the investment equation?
Thank you very much. I'm just 2-month-old here, and GCC, having served as head of Gulf Division in India, GCC only reminds me Gulf Cooperation Council. So this is a new term I learned today, and it's nice that thank you very much. The presentation in the beginning itself has highlighted the advantages of India. As regards India and US relationship, I must tell you that no, we have a comprehensive strategic partnership, and then it has been growing from strength to strength. And then as we speak today, we have about $142 billion trade between two countries. US, you know, is the #1 trading partner of India, and then India is around 9th largest trading partner of US. And then particularly if I come to this particular area, West Coast, you know, it's all Google, Facebook, and then what all Twitter in the Silicon Valley. And what I can see is there is a lot of potential which is being now tapped, and particularly we have an agenda. We have a target to achieve around $500 billion trade between the two countries by 2024. So we are working towards that. And then you would appreciate that recently during the pandemic, there was a real interest in India, which was indicative from the big announcements made by the Google, and then about 10 billion in India, and then over next 5 years. And then Facebook also had announced about 7 billion. So what we are looking at is there is an encouragement from this side, and then we look forward to these particular investments, etc. announcements have come in such a time that when India has started reforming, bringing reforms constantly and continuously over the past, even during the pandemic. So we are looking at more and more investments. I must share with you, yesterday I had a virtual call with one of the companies here who are moving their manufacturing to India, and then they came to us saying that the same advantages, and also they are moving from 3 places across the world and into India. So, and then 4 product lines. So that's very encouraging. And then I agree with the presentation by you and then the colleague that there are several advantages. That is basically the liberalized atmosphere, and then particularly the large human resource pool. That is what is attracting. You saw today, there was an announcement that challenges in the startups, and you can see that what encouraging atmosphere or environment is being created in India for the players across the world. And I think India and US, I'm sure it's only looking up, and then because of the geopolitics also, there are several companies which would like to move their manufacturing base from other countries into India.
Yeah, I agree. And I think some of the things these companies might be looking at, in fact, are just the growth. I mean, India now is on pace to go from the 5th to the 3rd largest global economy. And that's going to happen in short order. So I think what we're seeing is the front of these investments. And I appreciate very much your comments, Dr. Prasad.
And it is not one way, so because US appreciates that we also create jobs in US, and then I heard recently that every CEO who comes creates 40 jobs here and then 80 jobs in India. Sorry, 8 jobs in India. So it is appreciated by US that around 200,000 jobs, according to their own statistics, are supported by Indian firms here.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. I would like to move to the industry speakers now. So my question to Peter, in looking at the global view, as companies evaluate establishing GCCs in various countries, how does India stack up to the other countries as a destination site?
Yes, it do. That also makes it the least risky of the sites. As we think of its maturity, we've already talked about the sort of very deep and wide talent pool to draw on. I think what is less understood is just the talent pool in leadership. What makes India particularly low risk and easy to do business in is there's a very deep set of executives available that can be brought in to lead and drive these shared service organizations. And it's that depth of talent in leadership which really separates India from many of the other locations. And that enables people to do far more. It takes the risk out of the operations in India, and it enables those teams to operate at a higher level.
Thank you so much. I can now see how your insights on the attractiveness of India as a destination has supported the explosive growth in the sector. So let's stay on the practical theme. My question to you, Jerry, you have run operations in India for different functions. What advantages or benefits and challenges did you derive out of these experiences?
Yeah, thank you. You know, when I landed in Chennai 20 years ago to open my first center, I think it was the same concept that most companies initially think of, as has been mentioned, the labor arbitrage, right? Little did we know 20 years ago that we were selling ourselves short as an organization if that was the limited view that we would look at the talent pool there and the capabilities of our partners in India. So I would say, you know, we set out to, of course, save cost, but over the last 20 years, from my experience, the multiple organizations I have worked in and led the initiatives to migrate some of this work to our partners in India and to our team members there. I would say what's come out of that is, to Peter's point, there are such incredible leadership capabilities and talent that not only can you lift and shift work, it becomes more of a, you know, this is what the goal of the organization is, whether it's to refine processes or to build a better product or to service your customers better. There is the thought leadership and the talent there to lead that piece of the business. And so when we look at you know, what we were trying to accomplish or trying to accomplish even in today's world, you know, it's more of go build your core business, whether it be a back office or whatnot, with teams that have the talent and the thought leadership and the now experience to do that, as well as you know, better than anybody in the world. So that's been my experience. I've had the fortunate the ability to work with very talented leaders that I still 20 years on communicate with on a regular basis, who I would entrust any portion of my business to, simply because of their ability to lead strategically and build solid teams around what we as an organization are trying to accomplish.
Thanks, Jerry. You know, we talked in the presentation about the unique selling proposition being the talent pool and the cost to value relationship. And you've commented on the talent pool. I want to take it one step further and just get your perspective. Do you think that talent pool varies from city to city, or is it across the entire country you can get the same type of effort and skill sets?
Yeah, I think you have to have a plan. I mean, we've been fortunate that, you know, whether it's in, like I said, Chennai, Indore, Bangalore, New Delhi, we've been able to find the appropriate talent. But I think from an organization perspective, you have to, one, have your plan, right? What are you trying to accomplish and what's the skill set that you need? And two, give yourself the right runway to go find that talent. And I think that's where a lot of people want, you know, make the decision and rush into it. I mean, just given how labor works there, you know, give yourself the right runway to find the right talent. I think it, you know, there is no particular region for us that seemed to work better than others. And in fact, we've transported talent across regions in India in order to, you know, to meet the specific need that we had from time to time. So I would say just give yourself the right runway. You can find the right talent, but the next thing that I would say from a talent perspective is you have to make the initial investment as well, right? So you are not going to just find the right person or the right group of leaders who are going to immediately think and act the same way that you do. And so there's a collaboration that has to happen. You need to indoctrinate them about your culture and company culture. At the same time, they need the time frame to indoctrinate your organization as to what they can accomplish on your behalf. And so I think that's where finding the right talent who you can meet in that sort of middle is where you're going to get the best synergies.
Thanks, Jerry. I would like to turn to Peter for a second, building upon that just a little bit. Do you feel that there might have been a shift more recently from what historically has been GCCs as a support staff to more now GCCs of having staff that are with problem-solving skills and innovation potential? And maybe you can comment a little bit on that.
I don't know about a shift. Look, as the capabilities of these shared service organizations have grown, they've been able to add new capabilities to that. So I don't know of a GCC that doesn't still trade on labor arbitrage and do low-cost administrative functions. That's a sort of bedrock principle. But as they mature, and as that leadership matures, and as that ecosystem has deepened, their ability to add to other things has grown. Let me give you two illustrations. A client of ours, very large firm, undertaking a complete digital transformation of all its back office functions. It's about a $8 billion activity. That is being led and driven primarily out of their Indian GCC. Now they're participating across the world, but the leadership for that is coming out of primarily out of their Indian operations. And I think that's sort of a testament to just the depth of that talent pool that they would look to that. And let me give you another illustration. Let's talk about IBM. So IBM, great firm, really known for its R&D. If you look, about over half of its R&D now is coming out of India. Okay, so and they're focused on AI. They're focused on some of the most interesting areas, and they're doing some magnificent things. And they're drawing, and the significant component of that is out of their Indian operations. So there's two really solid examples about how firms have grown, and both of those firms enjoy the fundamental labor arbitrage component and do a lot of those things, but they've added to that and have that additional capability. And I think it would be silly for any firm not to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I appreciate the illustrations. It seems with a more partnered approach, the longer term relationships like that which Alpana spoke to in the case study, the 12-year relationship, are becoming more the norm. And both Jerry and Peter, you've commented on the talent pool. Dr. Prasad, I'm going to maybe come back to you here for just a moment and give you an opportunity to further elaborate as it relates to technology. We know that the talent pool from India is a major contributor to the US companies, and it's in fact integrated itself into the US economy and our culture. So the question is, how do you see US companies leveraging that talent pool in the current digital era?
I think, on the West Coast, under our jurisdiction, there is I must just go back to the history. The people started coming, and then first it was all agricultural and then field workers. You go to Central Valley here, you will find most of the almond king or walnut kings from India. So they are settled here, and then they have contributed to, and then in the initial periods, they have also contributed to building of roads, etc. From there, the 90s have seen the people coming in the field of IT. So now if you go towards the total population, I think Indian origin is around 4 million in US. And then on this West Coast, it is about 1.5 million. And the general, the statistics say that about 40% in the Silicon Valley are from India. So that is the kind of contribution Indian software professionals or business professionals provide for this knowledge economy. It's not only for US, I think, it drives innovation and the knowledge economy everywhere in the world. So I think no the and then the Indian community's contributions, no, it is very well recognized, because the average, no, I think no the mean income of no over 105,000 or so is no well above the national average kind of thing, or in the regional average. So that itself shows no the contribution of Indian engineers, Indian professionals here in US. And there are regarding the talent pool, I see people having their offices in India. You name Boeing or JP Morgan or Amazon, or everyone has the it is very interesting to note that any company we meet here in the big companies here, they say they have operations based in India. So that is the kind of talent pool. And then same thing happens once they go establish themselves, the talent pool comes back here, work here, and then I can see that the human resource pool of India here has enriched this Bay Area, and highly respected professionals from India here.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your views. Let's take up a quick poll question now. I would like to invite the audience to participate. So the question is, how soon are you looking to set up a GCC? And the options are implementation within 2 years, implementation in 2 to 5 years, or exploratory. Let's wait for the results.
And while we're waiting, we have a few more questions for the panelists, but if you'd like to submit your questions via the question box, now would be a very opportune time to do so, as we're getting very close to the end of the session, and we will get your questions in. And there are the results. So almost half of you are expecting to do something within the next 2 years, and an equal number are in the exploratory phase. The remaining 7% are saying within 2 to 5 years. So we have people here who are getting ready to act quick, and people who are kind of just kicking the tires, and now we welcome all of those. Anyway, let's get back to the discussion, and I'd like to turn our attention to Mr. Kumar. We're now in an era of new normal. We don't have to define what the new normal is, I think we all know. But what is the strategy of your department to increase the GCC footprints with a focus on capturing the newer segments and verticals and utilizing the talent pool we've spoken about and expansion in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities?
There are a lot of things that are happening in our diversification program. So typically we grew in tier 1 cities because of mainly infrastructure. And it has often said that the talent was also there in tier 1 cities. Now that talent is actually coming from all over the place. Because the business was in tier 1 cities, the talent was migrating to tier 1 cities, but the talent comes from all over the place. The tier 2 and 3 cities which were lacking in infrastructure are no more lacking in infrastructure. The connectivity has gone up. The talent itself has undergone rapid transformation in terms of their skill sets, and many newer opportunities have opened up across various sectors. If we look at automobile components, general automobile, semiconductor design, health, education, digital commerce or e-commerce, these are the main offerings now for which a lot of talent is available, a lot of opportunities are available in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. In the last few years, last 5 years, if I may say so, the ministry piloted a program to diversify the BPM sector in tier 2 and tier 3 towns, which has been resoundingly successful. We have also established a lot of infrastructure in tier 2 and tier 3 towns through the government institutions. More importantly, there are around 20 centers of excellence, many of them in tier 2 and tier 3 towns, that actually bring a lot of talent, a lot of startups together, working with a lot of mentors and angel and VC networks. And these startups are actually the breeding ground for talent and up for mergers and acquisitions. They are the ones which can really transform the GCCs. Uh, as Peter mentioned in his two uh, case studies, examples of IBM uh, and one more company. Now, yes, we do still can agree that cost arbitrage would still be there, but now actually the the talent, the leadership is available that can actually transform the operations, that is ready to innovate, and that uh, leadership, that talent, that readiness to transform the GCC functioning is available not only in tier 1 but in tier 2 and tier 3 towns as well. So select a few states, they are having their own programs, and we can offer red carpet for the GCCs who would look at establishing their centers in tier 2 and tier 3 towns. uh, and finally, I would like to mention that many of the GCCs have actually uh, partnered under the open innovation framework and are leveraging the startup ecosystem. Some of the GCCs uh, like Target, Honeywell, they have their own accelerator programs running or are leveraging third-party accelerator programs. So uh, the the ecosystem in and around tier 1 has expanded now to include tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate those comments and want to give Dr. Prasad now the opportunity to maybe if he has anything he would like to add regarding factors which you think can help attract additional unicorn startups to India.
I think the Bay Area and then Silicon Valley is a very fertile ground to provide the necessary ecosystem. And then I found that several cross-border startups have been very successful in this area. And then many of those successful cross-border startup CEOs were of the view that they really, if they have to scale up, they have to move to India. So I found a lot of enthusiasm. And what we are doing is we are trying to have an interaction. We call it now Startup Setu, that is a bridge between Indian startups and then because now startup dynamics is not unidirectional, but it has a ripple effect in India. Particularly this particular startups ranging from, I have seen defense, healthcare, and then the whatever Internet of Things, etc. They are all looking at a huge market to scale up their startups, and then the venture capitalists and then the investors from here. So they are going to provide or boost their prospects in India. So we are looking at creating a bridge between Indian startups, which are developing based on the needs, local needs, and also combine them with the source of the investments, etc., from this side. So we have initiated this process maybe in a couple of weeks back, and then we hope that this will lead to many moving to India for their manufacturing or scaling up.
Yeah, it's very exciting for somebody in my position as well. There's a number of initiatives that both you and Mr. Kumar have elaborated on, and it just seems like the GCC growth is poised to continue for the near term. So I'd like to thank you both for your insights. Turn to Alpana and see if she has anything else she'd like to talk to any of our industry leaders about.
So I have a question for Jerry. How do you see the future of GCCs, and what advice would you give companies considering India as a destination for setting up GCCs?
Yeah. I think it kind of goes back to what Peter said earlier about the minimal risk and the the safety and security that has been brought to that particular region from a business perspective. So I actually think it would be a silly business decision not to consider it first and foremost. And it's not just from a a cost or labor arbitrage perspective. It's grown into an industry, into a region that's so much more than that. And I think you as a business would want to take advantage of that. So do your homework, segment your business, know what should stay onshore, know what can be done and should be done offshore. So do your homework with your own core businesses itself first and foremost. Second of all, I would just encourage people who are considering it, or companies who are considering it, don't think of it as a lift and shift, right? What is the strategic goal for moving the business in the first place? And then, find the right talent, and then let them run with it, right? I think some of the fundamental problems that we had in the beginning is that, we did things A, B, C, D, and you want to just lift and shift when in fact, we just wanted to get to D, and how we got there was better served by the people who understood it and could do it better than we could. So I think take advantage of that is the first thing. And again, invest up front early in the relationship, and the relationships with the people that you're hiring. Bring them to see your business, go visit their business. I think if you shortchange that in the beginning, you're going to have a much bigger challenge getting the synergies that you're looking for in the first place.
Thank you so much, Jerry. And I agree with you. It has to be seen like an investment to gain the maximum benefits. So before we go to closing remarks, I want to ask Peter, how do you think companies can access and benefit from local support and consulting and services firms like NextTime?
Sure. Look, let's put this in context. We've talked about some very large firms with thousands of seats in India. I think one of the things as this market has matured is open it up to smaller firms, right? So 10 years ago, we were doing work and we were recommending that if you weren't going to put 1,000 to 2,000 people in, you shouldn't put a GCC in. Today, that recommendation would be 30 to 50, okay? And the reason that you brought that cost down is really because the maturity and these firms like NextGen and ourselves, I might add, helping people do that. The cost to start up now, the ability to find mature leadership, the ability to support and work through whether it's the legal issues, the accounting issues, all those issues. Someone like a NextTime can provide really a lot of support to that and ongoing support, which brings down the cost and brings down the risk. And like for us, we're a research firm. We can provide a lot of information that again, creates conviction and speeds and de-risks that process. So there's a very deep and rich set of services and of firms that can provide this, and I think that has democratized the role of this and opened this up to really quite small firms. It is a rare firm that can't find 30 to 50 people. I just give you an illustration of how powerful that is. Working with one client, there were about 75 people they were putting in. They achieved $3.5 million of EBIT a year from that. Now, it was a specialized group, right? But that's a stunning result. And they were getting to that run rate within 18 months. So again, the business case is very powerful. And I think what's not understood is just how rich and deep the support is so that you can do that. And I think NextTime and Everest are great examples of what you can get, help you can get.
Thank you, Peter. I would like to invite our panelists to share their closing remarks. So I would like to request Mr. Rajiv Kumar to share your closing remarks.
Well, thank you, Alpna. Actually, my thanks to the rest of the panelists also. We had a wonderful discussion. Just for closing, India has been known to be the offshoring destination of the world, back office of the world. May I make one new statement is that we are also now the e-commerce technology development capital of the world. Also, if you look at uh, the number of businesses uh, that are able to sell digitally in India, India is number one. So 80% of our businesses, either B2B or B2C, are now able to sell digitally. This is no country in the world has achieved this kind of digitalization in the selling business. Uh, that clearly shows that the strength and resilience of our IT talent. Furthermore, even when we went in this COVID situation, when we went into lockdown in late April, late March, and was perhaps the world's toughest lockdown for 40 days. Uh, the services through GCCs, through BPM sector to the world offices continued uninterruptedly. That shows the strength, resilience of the IT sector in India. So that is, I mean, you have to see, you have to come here to believe it. You have to see the results that are coming. Uh, the the uh, the technology transformation in our big companies, be it TCS, Infosys, or other such big companies that have grown out of India, is that now we are hitting almost 40% revenues come from digital sectors. So the kind of transformation that has gone into these companies will actually is reflective of the talent that is now available, even across and this has continued even when we are working from home. In this new normal, you have to believe that there are enough opportunities for GCCs to grow further, make use of the talent that is available, make use of the infrastructure that is available, not only now in tier 1 cities, but across several of our tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. And Dr. Prasad?
I thank the fellow panelists and then NextTime for organizing this. It's very interesting for me, and then not only interesting, but a bit learning exercise. And I think, post-COVID, what everyone is looking at India is it is the one which provides an opportunity for growth. So I think, GCCs will have an important role to play to just leverage those digital advantage what is there in India for growth of other sectors also. As you know, India and then US, we have been cooperating during the COVID, particularly on the healthcare, and then that the manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, medicines, particularly Gilead, etc., have tied up with Indian pharmaceutical companies. Of course, India is known as pharmacy of the world. So I think post-COVID also provides the opportunities, best opportunities. And then I think some people say that one should not lose an opportunity which is provided by India at this particular juncture. And then I hope India will lead to drive the world economy post-COVID situation. I think such discussions will really help people to validate and then choose India as their destination. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
Look, India is a very mature space. It's got deep talent pool, both in terms of the engineering, IT, business process, as well as the leadership, right? It's clearly one of the key destinations you want to consider when you're putting in or thinking about this. And as I said before, I think what has been very interesting to watch over the last few years is the availability of this to the smaller firms who, or a more targeted area, so a small engineering team. And I think that's really fueling the next wave of growth. and building on the investments that the Indian government has made, that the ecosystem has grown to. So I think it's a very attractive opportunities for a much bigger group of firms that have previously looked at this.
Jerry?
Yeah, I like everyone else, I appreciate the opportunity to come and share my experience, and appreciate the other panelists. I think just to reinforce, my experience as a business leader, the best way to do that is, just show some appreciation for the business leaders, my Indian-based business leaders who continue to enrich my life as a business leader, as a professional, and the contributions that they've made to us as an organization over the 20, 25 years that we've been doing business there. So just a call out to the people that served next to me for all that time. You can't go wrong.
Thank you all. I just want to say I've learned a lot. We're not done yet, but I've learned a lot, and I appreciate everything that you've shared. And I mean that. The discussion today has been extremely engaging, and I'm sure that your experience, your expertise, and whatnot has provided the audience with a very nice, well-rounded perspective that we need as they continue whatever part of the journey they're on in their GCC journey. We have a few moments, and we have a number of questions from the audience, and here's what I think I'd like to do. I'd like to summarize and ask one question to each of you. I'm going to read the questions, and then I'm going to come back and ask you for answers. So it'll give you the opportunity to formulate an answer. So for Peter, and we'll answer these in the order in which I asked in just a minute. So for Peter, the audience is wondering what the right time for companies to move functions to a GCC might be, and does it differ based on industry? So if you could think about that. And then for Jerry, what is the involvement? You alluded to companies visiting each other, which is interesting, but what's the involvement of senior management or the retained organization within a company to make the GCC successful? So we'll come back to you both for those answers in just a moment. Mr. Kumar, the question that comes in here, it relates to the software technology parks in India, that scheme, the STPI scheme. And the question is, are there any further proposed incentives like that being considered? And then lastly, Dr. Prasad, we finished with you. What are some of the activities being undertaken to promote trade investments between the two countries, the US and India, which obviously are superpowers in themselves? So let's revert back to Peter for the question about timing. And Peter, if you might be able to elaborate.
Sure. Look, the biggest problem you're going to face is change management. And the change management really on the US or the sending side. So from a timing perspective, you've got to have senior leadership committed to this, right? Because this is difficult for people to get their arms around or their minds around. So it really comes down to, like most things in business, if you have senior leadership commitment and they'll follow through on this and work through all the change management issues, you'll find that that's much bigger, more important than the ability to attract talent and leadership in India and get through the complexities of setting up a legal organization. Those things, those are relatively easy with NextTime or other help. Getting your own organization to embrace this will be the hardest thing. So it's time when you are committed to it.
Thank you. And turning to Jerry regarding what Peter alluded to there for a moment on senior management.
Yeah, and it has to be more than, I'll take it one step further, it has to be more than just supportive and a top-down driven initiative. They need to be involved, right? You need to be part of the planning. You need to be part of that change management and controls management team. And then you need to be visible as a senior executive. Again, the training of staff. I mean, we've been very successful in bringing people to our domestic organization and then bringing the domestic folks, both from an executive perspective and from a working perspective, over to India and share and collaborate together. Again, you have to make that investment both at a functional level and at a senior executive level. They're an extension of your team, and you need to get your organization's hands wrapped around that.
Thank you. Mr. Kumar, the comment now regarding any proposed additional incentives similar to STPI or anything else you'd like to comment on incentives?
The STP scheme was there, which kickstarted a whole lot of investments, and the GCCs took benefit of it. The STP scheme is still operational, minus one benefit, that is the income tax waiver. All of the other benefits are very much there, and anybody who would like to make use of it is most welcome. Of course, you do realize that income tax waivers cannot continue beyond a certain time frame. It continued for around 2 decades and was phased out in 2011-12. And we are not looking at reintroducing that benefit. But others, import of capital, duty-free equipment, lower rentals, and one-stop shop service, and everything else is also currently available. There are a number of other incentives or benefits that have cropped up that are offered by the state governments themselves. So they are very much available, and that will, of course, vary from state to state. There are a few benefits under the research and development ecosystem. Those can also be availed. And further, that now that working from home is a new normal, so even that's kind of benefit. So we are looking at lower real estate costs, even when the pandemic subsides. Also there is enough talent that has shown significant leadership and transformational ability that was employed in the BPM sector. So they are actually the catchment area for moving from the BPM sector into the GCCs themselves. So just one benefit is not available. Rest everything plus a few more things are available under the STPI scheme.
Yeah, very nice selection of incentives for sure. And Dr. Prasad, if you'll finish up with anything related to trade and investments that's being worked on that you might want to comment on.
No, see, the India and US, as the largest and oldest democracies, are the natural partners. And there is more and more realization on both sides that know about tapping the potential to the fullest possible extent. And we can see that during this COVID time also, I see people coming for business visas. Government of India has been gracious enough to give these visas, particularly those who are going for business purposes. I see that from this side, people are traveling on business to India during this pandemic. So these are the encouraging signals. And then what we do here as facilitators of the increasing the investments and then trade, we are doing our bit by organizing the virtual trade shows, and then the disseminating the information on the promoting the investments into India. That's what we do. I think the trade and investment between India and then US is poised to grow post-COVID also.
Thank you. We're in the home stretch, folks, and this concludes our Q&A session. But don't leave just yet. I want to take the opportunity now to introduce Guljit Singh. Guljit serves as the Group Executive Chairperson at NextTime, and he has over 47 years of diverse business experience in the global medical device sector. He has a proven record of delivering and sustaining progress while expanding in all geographies. At NextTime, he is the guiding force behind the organization's rapid growth and future expansion plans, by providing the necessary leadership and guidance for our evolving global organization. Guljit, we're very privileged to have you join us. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mark. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
That won't take too long. But this is another in a series of webinars we have done for the global audience. I hope our listeners found this to be useful. Given the geopolitical uncertainties and the pandemic, we understand it is not easy to start thinking of alternate supply chains. But I would like to let everyone know that our global team is ready to answer your questions. And where we don't have the answers, we will get them for you to the best of our ability. We stand ready to help. NextTime, as Mark said, is a global firm with global capabilities with offices in several cities across the globe. With this, let me say, you heard today about cost arbitrage. You heard about leadership capabilities. And my own personal experience, having spent all my life in USA and having born in India, I found English speaking a huge advantage for US companies. Having done in business in USA, Europe, Asia Pacific countries, and sometimes we take that advantage for granted. I know how difficult it was for me to do business in many of the Asia Pacific countries when I was there for my US company before. I think somebody also mentioned, I believe it was Jerry or Peter, visibility of senior executives was mentioned. What an understatement. Very important to be successful. You cannot just have a strategy, say, I want to set up an operation in India and not have a senior executive not be visible. India and US share common values. I think that fact was understated by Dr. Prasad, saying we are the two largest democracies, but one the richest and one the largest by population. Peter and Jerry's experiences mirror my own. Having taken small US company 50 years ago to a global powerhouse today. Today, you don't need too many examples. Experience of Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, Walmart, a lot of other companies stand as a great testimony with multi-billion-dollar investments of their own. And for those of you who may not know, I have set up plants across the world. Within USA, Europe, done a lot of work in China, and have set up a very large healthcare facility in Haryana, not too far from Gurgaon. And these are medical facilities, as most of you know. They are highly regulated industries, and all of them were US FDA approved. So with that, let me take a moment to thank our global audience today, including our valued customers and industry guests with whom we do not exist, without whom we do not exist. Let me also take a moment to thank our key panelists for taking time out of their busy schedules and being part of today's session. So thank you, Honorable Rajiv Kumar, participating from India. Thank you, Dr. Nagendra Prasad, participating from San Francisco Consulate. Thank you, Peter Bender Manuel, founder and CEO of Everest Group from Dallas. And thank you, Jerry Kinnick, for making it, in spite of the challenging wildfires and situation you have been facing recently on the West Coast in Oregon. We were not sure you were going to make it today, but thank you again. Really appreciate it. Now let me come to our internal moderators, Alpana from Pune, India, and Mark from Chicago area. An excellent job of keeping things moving and on time. Finally, and not the least, our NextTime staff that have put in untold hours today to make the event success. Nimesh from Toronto, Manoj and Karthik from Mumbai playing the leadership roles for this webinar. Jeev and Shubhan from Mumbai project managing the webinar. Yugal, Jitin, Priya, our marketing team from Mumbai, India. As you can see, we have a global, presenters here. Mr. Salil Naran from Gurgaon, India. And if I have missed anyone, I apologize in advance. Appreciate everyone's participation. Thank you. And with that, have a good day. With this, back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Guljit. Thank you very much, Guljit. And we invite all of you listening today to connect with us for a discussion on how NextTime can work hand in hand with you and your organization. If you have any questions in line with the discussion today that we were unable to address due to our time constraints, please, we welcome you to reach out to us, and you could do so at thinknext@nextime.com. And our team will be happy to respond offline. Across the globe, we do think next at NextTime, and we invite you to do the same. We welcome your feedback on today's presentation. Be vigilant, and all of you, please stay safe. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.